versus the euro by 50% and clean up their act, and in 5 years they'd be out of the woods. And I think that's the way it's going to end up. They're playing this game that they've got going. And not the Greeks, the powers of Europe, we'll call them. And again, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, saving the euro is extraordinarily important for them, because once it goes, then they have to reconfigure everything they're doing and do it on a national sovereign basis. They won't be able to put the links in place to create their world government, and that's really what they're up to. And so if Greece were to fail, and it will in time, because it can't carry that load, and I don't think the people will cooperate. They are absolutely outraged and have been for 2 years, and they'll be in the streets, and they just won't play. The revenues won't come in to pay the interest of the bonds. But you're right, Paul. The look of all of this is we got to keep the euro together, and no matter what. But they're really just buying time. I think they know they're beyond the pale, that they can't make it work, and I think they've known this from the very beginning. They should have never let the banks make the kind of loans that they did. And the banks didn't care. They made the loans out of money out of thin air and expected the public to pay them back. And that's essentially what's happening. But I don't think it's going to continue to go on that way. And that Greece would go bankrupt eventually, 3 months, 6 months down the line, very possible. And, of course, they would take Ireland and Portugal with them. And Ireland is a terrible mess. The politicians have sold their people out, and they've assumed the debts of the banks, most of the foreign banks, in Ireland, and the amount of money that they're on the hook for to pay interest on and guarantee the bonds is far beyond the capacity. They'll be in depression for 20, 30 years. And so that Greece going under will take the others with it. And they're deathly afraid of that. And they almost got to that point. And they still may be at that point if Papandreou loses the confidence vote. Because the next step is snap election and getting back to the people voting on whether to accept the package or not. So the game isn't over yet, and we don't have anything out of Greece yet. It's probably around 8 o'clock at night there, and so we should be getting something shortly.
Okay, switching gears for the moment. Story out today which has interested me. HSBC customers impacted by, quote, worldwide meltdown of all retail services. Now, a few weeks ago we had problems with Bank of America ATMs. And now we have what's being dubbed a worldwide meltdown, in which online banking, ATMs and debit cards appear to have been blocked and no customer access is available. And that's for HSBC customers, obviously one of the biggest banks in the world. Bob, is this just technical gremlins, or is there something deeper at work with all these ATM failures we've seen recently?
Well, it's very hard to say. Knowing the people that we're dealing with, there is a possibility they would take the systems down over here and over there for a day or two to get the people warmed up to the fact that maybe that would happen again, and maybe for a longer period of time. As we all know, they want to get people out of cash and into debit and credit cards in totality to be followed at some time in some way with using a chip. And I don't think the people will ever stand for that, but we don't know until we get there, but I don't think it's anywhere near imminent. But I can't venture a guess on HSBC system going down. And it is extensive. It's all over the world.
Well, it's interesting because last year we had the article where Citigroup was sending out an advisory to its customers where basically it said, we reserve the right, although it's not in place, we reserve the right to require 7 days advance notice before permitting a withdrawal from all checking accounts. So they've got these rules and regulations on the books, which you agree to when you sign up for a checking account with them, where they can say, right, you want to withdraw $1,000, you're going to have to wait a week. So it seems to me that definitely preparing for this day when, if this financial collapse does come and it comes down quickly, then they're going to have massive restrictions on people withdrawing cash to, in their words, prevent panic. So it's very interesting to see how that develops. On the jobs figures, the phony unemployment figure, which isn't even the real number, has dropped by 0.1% today. And the talking point is, quote, things are so bad, this looks good. I mean, Bob, is this 0.1% drop a cause for a big celebration?
Well, of course not. And employment hasn't come down. They just Mickey Mouse their birth-death ratio figures again. And that is the birth of and the death of businesses. And government guesses at that every month and has for a long time. And it's an excuse to create jobs that were never created. And they do it all the time. And what you got to look at it as is M6. The figure you just referred to, 9%, is M3. That's short-term unemployment. You've got the others in there, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, with 6 being the total, 6 including the birth-death ratio. And I don't know what today's figure is, but it was 16 and 5/8% unemployment. Now, if you remove the birth-death ratio, you get 22.6%. And so that's really where the unemployment rate is, and that's why people subscribe to my publication to see what the real number is, or John Williams, who's the best at figuring all that stuff out. And the government is not getting away with what they're doing, but on the other hand, unfortunately, everybody isn't listening to what we're telling them about this figure, 9%, that comes across on all the wire services and on the television programs, and everybody believes it because they don't know any better. And they're not expected to know any better unless they listen to programs like Alex Jones.
Now, we've been talking at length on this show, certainly about the war footing that Israel, the US, and the United Kingdom have put themselves on regarding an attack on Iran within the next 12 months. We've got the article up at Prison Planet and Infowars.com right now, which is Obama tells allies US will attack Iran by fall 2012. And basically that's out of Debka file, which is an Israeli intelligence outlet, which has been proven accurate in the past. They predicted almost precisely when the Libya conflict would be wound up, when NATO would go in and attack Tripoli, and then obviously immediately after Gaddafi went on the run. So they've been proven accurate in the past, and now they're saying that immediately after NATO wound down operations on Monday in Libya, that Obama told Germany, Italy, Israel, and Saudi Arabia that if Iran does not give up its nuclear, they call it nuclear weaponization program, the only evidence that's really been presented is that it's for energy. If they don't give up that program by September 2012, because they're afraid they'll move it underground and they won't be able to bomb it out of existence, then Obama has given the green light for this invasion. Of course, we had yesterday the former Israeli intelligence chiefs out of Mossad and Shin Bet came out that they're basically leaking information about these attack plans in a bid to derail them and in an effort to bring down Netanyahu, take him out of office before he can oversee this. So we've got massive war footing. We've got anecdotal reports. Alex Jones said his cousin told him the same thing. I've seen other reports of US troops being sent to Kuwait. This is supposedly after the withdrawal from Iraq, it's about rearranging US forces in the Persian Gulf, specifically for targeting Iran. Now, Bob, I mean, if it comes to pass and that we do see this attack on Iran in the next 12 months and it escalates in the region, what's the economic impact going to be? Are we going to see another rush to safety with the gold and the dollar, or could it cause even greater problems?
Well, I think the immediate effect would be on the price of oil. and that would be followed by gold and silver and commodities. The stock market would go down. I would think that the bond market, which would usually be somewhat buoyant, would probably be relatively unchanged. The U.S. government will be in the markets trying to manipulate them, as they always do now, legally. And so it'll be a hard fight for commodities, gold and silver, to move up, but they will. And they're going to try to save the Wall Street market and the bond market, which is 100 times bigger. And that won't last very long. I think they'll go down, and the yields will increase on bonds, because that's a very, very difficult event. You know, they continue to use the ability to use lightning strikes and large amounts of munitions to accomplish what they want to do. And if they do attack Iran, and they don't have Iran in a difficult position within 2 or 3 weeks, that could last for years. And maybe Russia and China might get involved. We don't know. And so, yes, they probably will do that. When they will do it, I don't know. But it's on the plate for a long time. And a lot of people have projected different date periods, and they've all been wrong, obviously. And you shouldn't do that, because you don't know. I mean, unless you work for the Mossad or the CIA. And so you'll just have to be happy with the projection that it's going to happen in all probability, but we don't know when. But over the next year looks like a possible time.
Now, I saw an interesting video earlier this week, and it got a lot of attention, and that was Peter Schiff representing the, quote, 1%. He went down to Occupy Wall Street, and he basically confronted the protesters, and he was saying, look, you know, I've got a company that employs 150 people. How many people do you employ? And he was trying to make the point to them that many of the Occupy Wall Street protesters are calling for solutions that would not target the super rich elite, but would cripple the American middle class and middle class businesses by supporting this Warren Buffett tax plan, which is also advocated by the Obama administration, which wouldn't even affect the top 1% who all hide their wealth in offshore accounts. It would affect the American middle class and real businesses that employ American people. Bob, if you could go down there to Occupy Wall Street, what would you say to these protesters who in many cases are arguing for solutions that would lead to more draconian, worse economic conditions for most American citizens than is already the case? What would you say to Occupy Wall Street?
It doesn't work. And their manifesto of answers looks like it was written by Karl Marx. But that's only the segment that is running the thing. You have there's an equal amount of people now participating that are telling people who are there that doesn't work, and here's why it doesn't. And we got to get rid of the Fed Reserve, and yes, Wall Street are a bunch of criminals. I mean, we just had a company go under yesterday, and they're missing $1 billion or $1.25 billion